Hi, we're Kev and Emma. 18 months ago we started a new adventure and bought a 57-foot narrowboat called Ripple. Why not join us and watch our highs and lows, the renovations and changes we've made, the clever storage that's been created, and find out what it's really like living and working full-time aboard a narrowboat with 2 dogs while exploring the waterways of our beautiful country.
Good morning. It's just me at the moment. Emma is here, she's out walking the dogs because today's a big day for me. It's service the engine day. I try and service the engine twice a year if I can. The middle of the year one I do a smaller service. It's just air filter and oil change. But this one is everything. It's air filter, oil, fuel filter, gearbox oil, which I'm not going to do. Normally I would do that, but I'm not going to do it because, as a lot of you know, it's dumped itself out twice on me, so I feel there's quite a lot of clean oil in there now. So we won't be doing the gearbox, but we do everything else. What's that one? Fuel filter, air filter, oil filter, and that's a 5 litre one, but 2 lots of 5 litres. Takes about 8 litres I believe. And this is 10W40 marine oil, Morris. You can see to get that everywhere. So we got a Beta Marine 43. I'll show you inside our engine bay in a minute. But we're quite lucky because in the engine bay, if you look at a lot of engines, it's really tight up against bulkheads, and you can't get things like your grips in to get your filters off. Where I'll show you in a minute with us, we've got quite a bit of room in there. So first job is air filter and drain the water out of the water valve. The diesel comes into there, through there into the diesel filter, but there's a little water sediment catcher, and you just unscrew the little valve and it drips out. Once it's running red diesel, all the water's out, tighten it back up. But let's have a look in the engine. Apologies for the filming of this. I can't actually get the camera back far enough to get the whole engine in, but that's basically the Beta Marine 43. Air filter is in there. That there, where am I looking there? The silver thing there, that's the water sediment catchy thing. And if I bring you down here, fuel pump, underneath there is the fuel filter. So as you can see, I've got plenty of room there to get the grips onto that. And then the other one, the oil filter, is just there. So I've got plenty of room here to get the grips in there. So it's not too bad. As you can see, we still got residue of oil literally lingering on the floor from where the gearbox dumped itself. I'm in 2 minds whether to do the belts. I've got a bit of a shredding going on there, so yeah, we'll do the belts on this service. Look, you can see that's just a matter of time before that's going to snap. So we'll do the belts while we're here. This one's quite old. It's now twisting quite a way if I push it, and it's right at the very end of the bar. So we will change both sets of belts this time as well. So the first bit to get off is the air filter, which is 3 quite vicious clips. There's one under here which is really awkward to get to. I'll take that one off last. Might get a bit looser. Oh, no, there we go. Got him. And of course, take the lid off. Take said filter out. And if you can see from there, the colour, that's pretty disgusting. So, well overdue a nice new one. And it is just the reverse. Pop it in. It does seem to sit in there quite happily, and then pop the said hat lid thing back on, which is never easy. Oh, don't like doing it. Oh. But the bottom one's normally easier. So the next stage is to run the engine for about 10-15 minutes. All I'm trying to do is warm the oil up. just to change the viscosity of it from a thick gloopy oil to a more runny oil, because I'll show you in a second. You've got to pump a little pump like forever to get it all out of the sump and everything, and bear in mind it's about 7-8 litres, something like that. Okay, so the engine's been running for about 10-15 minutes, so I'll show you where I now need to pump it. The pump is here and it comes out of there. There is, I don't know if we can see it from this way, that little yellow red handle there. You turn that so it goes upwards and that opens the valve up, and then basically you pump your life away for what seems like hours, getting every bit of oil out. So, but I'll show you what I pump it into to make this bit easy for me. So I have an old oil tin with the top chopped off, and that sits against the bulkhead over the lip like that comes like that, and it goes like that, and it just holds itself, so it allows you to pump it into there. And I'll take it from here, and I've got another container that I'll pour it into. Really important, there's a little metal cap bit on the end with a rubber seal, not to lose it. And you can see it, this bit here, don't lose it, you'll need that. It's a case of wedge that there with my other leg. And basically you spend the next 40 minutes pumping out 7 odd litres of oil. You'll know when it's all done and empty, or as near as empty as it's going to be, because rather than it pushing like a stream of oil out every time, it goes and it splits and splats. So that's all I'm getting now, is little tiny like splatters of oil. And now pretty much nothing. So that, I'm going to say, is done. What hasn't come out of that, when I take the oil filter off, I'll leave that off dripping into a tray for half an hour while I do the fuel filter. I'll leave the oil filter off, dripping the remainder out of it. If you look at here, that there is a 10 litre tub. So I haven't poured the rest in. So if I do that now, carefully obviously, I think it's going to be around 8 litres. There we go. So that in itself is probably 8.5, 9 litres. So let's drain the sump and put some clean stuff in. Nearly forgot then the all important little bit to put back in. So it's exactly the same as reverse. Turn the red knob switch thing the other way, that stops oil being able to come out this way. Put the little cap back on, give all that a wipe because it does run. Don't leave oily rags down there because obviously oil can catch fire quite happily. And that, from this point of it, is done. Yeah, so what we've got to do now is take oil filter off. Little tray, sorry about the angles in here, it's a bit tight down in this little bit. Bit of tissue paper, put that down there. But I do have a little secret hack that I do, but this has got to remain between us lot, because Emma doesn't know I use them. I get her sandwich bags and I put it over the filter, and most of the oil and that gets caught in here rather than dropping on the floor, but that's between us, alright? They should, in theory, come off hand tight, because they only went on hand tight, so we try that first. No. Okay, so hand tight isn't coming off. So you get a set of grips. Grip the tin. Lifty loosey. God, I was never going to get that off in a million years. Right, now that's coming loose now, but with the grips I've pierced the tin. Oh, still not coming. I thought I had enough then. There we go. Oh, blimey. There we go. Oil is going to drip out, but the majority should. Go into that bag. So, oil is coming out of here and dripping into my drip tray. So this will drip out the last bits that didn't come out. It doesn't get all the old oil out, it's never going to, but I'll just leave that dripping for a little while. Now, move on to the fuel filter. That, as I showed you earlier, is right here. Next bit is the fuel drain off of the water. I won't video that because you're just not going to be able to see anything. You'll see the back of my back, so yeah, I'll show you the tray afterwards. I think it's a bit pointless really. No one wants to look at the back of my head. So that's the diesel water separator thingy. There's probably a proper name for it, but I've no idea what it is. And you see, red diesel, tiny little bit of water came out, tiny little bit, literally a couple of drops first, and then it just poured and flowed red diesel. So I now know there's no water in the line. So this involves taking back up there, turning the right up the end of the boat there. I don't think you can see them, but there's two little switches that turns the fuel off. Undo that, same process, sandwich bag, put the new one on, undo a little bolt here, pump away, gets all the air out, fills the filter up, good to go. And this one's a bit bloody awkward if I'm honest with you, because it's got two pipes, one that side, one coming in, one going out, and the grips aren't exactly easy to get into there. So I'm hoping, no, just like the oil filter, it's, you put them on hand tight, they should come off hand tight. Why don't they come off hand tight? I've got to work upside down now, that way to tighten it, that way to loosen it. Yes, that way. So you've got to try and get the grips right on the bottom of it somehow, not pinching the pipe, which is not the easiest thing to do. That side's on. I hope we can do it in one go, if not two, if not. I have turned the fuel off, by the way, in case anybody's worried. Maybe it's not needed, I don't know, but I'll just turn it off just in case this breaks, pierces or something and I can't get the new one on quickly. Right, there we go. Now, I think I can get, yeah, I can get that now. So, again, sandwich bag trick. Obviously don't tell Emma. It keeps a bit of the fuel in it and saves it going everywhere. I might be completely bloody wrong, but I just think it makes it a bit easier because the diesel's already coming out. I can feel it in the bag. And there's obviously diesel there. A little bit drips out. So that's the fuel filter up. And what I always do is quickly clean. There is always drips from this bit. Quickly give that a clean up because I don't want red diesel everywhere. But I don't know if you can see that yet. There's a fuel filter with a red diesel in. Take the new one, get out of this box and put that fuel filter into this box so it doesn't get knocked over. Little black ring here, you're meant to put a fine bead of oil around that. So, a little bit of oil around the filter, rubber. Maybe a bit too much there because it's gone in the grooves, which I don't really want. Around the old rubber, give it a good, make sure it's coated, and then it is just the reverse of what you've done. So I think a lot of people remember the rhyme lefty loosey righty tighty. It's a lefty loosey righty tighty. Now you can over tighten these as well apparently. Trying to get them on hand tight, it's pretty hard going, to be fair. I feel that bit's on, so next bit is to prime. Okie dokie. I've just turned the fuel back on at the main stop valves back up there, and you can't really see it, and I can't get you, I've just been trying to get you an angle to see it. Down literally here, right here, is a little, what is it, 10mm bolt, nut bolt. Literally, you crack it open, you don't need to take it all the way out, crack it open, give it a few turns, put some kitchen roll here, and basically start pumping, pushing up and down on black lever, and what that does, that starts, I can hear it coming from the main fuel tank. Yeah, there's the bubbles. So when you start seeing the bubbles, you know that's the air in the diesel. All I do is keep pumping until I get no fizzy bubbles anymore. Once all the fizzy bubbles are gone, there we go. Now that is just fuel in there now. And then, all importantly, don't forget to tighten it back up. Give it a good wipe round. Okay. So that's a fuel primed. Next stage, put the oil filter back on and start filling it with oil. Now I'm going to put the new oil filter back on. It is the same process as the fuel filter. Bit of oil around this rubber seal thing. Now what's really important is that seal sometimes comes out and sticks to the oil bit. Now really important to check it's come off with the actual oil filter. Mine didn't, it was just stuck there. I just went to go and get some oil to literally run around there, which isn't enough. Just to check, I thought I'll check to make sure it's come off, and I've just checked the old filter and it didn't. So really important to make sure it comes off. Dob of oil. I won't show you this because I can't get the angle again, but it's the reverse of what we did for full filter. Put it on, hand tight, job's a good one. So one little check I do, dipstick check. Now I've drained all the oil, put the dipstick back in. If there is any oil left in there, that should come up black. So I'll pull it straight up. I'll keep looking at you so I'm not looking and cheating. There's the thing. As you can see, dry. Little blob on the end there, right down the bottom. It's now a case of taking the oil cap off, which normally is really hard. I don't know why. Normally quite stiff. There we go. As I undo it, I give a wipe round just to make sure no crud falls into the engine. That's the last thing I want. Put that somewhere safe. I always use a funnel because I'm a really poor shot with these bottles, but look at that golden treacle. Look at that. It'll be 8 litres going back in really. So, and that's probably not even close to even half a litre. So this first 5 litre one, this will all go in quite happily. I don't need to sit and measure that with it on the dipstick or anything, because that'll just start flowing. It'll take all of that. From the mechanical point of view, that is pretty much the engine service done. The water displacement bit in the diesel, that's been drained. The fuel filter's been changed, reprimed and pumped. The oil's been changed and being refilled. What else have I done? The air filter's been changed. I've got the 2 belts to do yet, but what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to start straight away on the belts. What I'll do is I'll fill the oil up, get it to the level in between the min-max, and then I start the engine just to make sure I've not done anything stupid. and it doesn't start. There's no point in changing belts if you're broken down. The first 5 litres have gone in, and I'm about, I can see it there, halfway roughly. So I'll have a little test. Okay, so that's about 3/4 at the moment, I believe. So I reckon a few more glugs of that, and then that will do. And what I'll do in a second is I go and start the engine, A, to make sure it still starts and I haven't broken it and I have bleeded the diesel through enough, but B, what you need to do is where you put the new oil filter on, although you're putting new oil into it, I'm not sure it goes into there. So it needs the pressure of the engine pumping it all around the tubes and everything else and the pipes within the engine and the oil filter, and that will take it down on your dipstick a little bit more again. And then you just top up literally just under the max line. So I'll plop that back in, put the all important cap back on, no mucking that in there. Everything's done, fuel's on, filters on, separator's tightened, oil filter's on and not dripping, fuel's primed. Let's see if she starts. But moment of truth, excuse the wonky camera work. Let's see if Kev's done it properly. So the oil pressure light beeps for a few seconds, and that's what I said about the oil needs to come into the filter. So it looks like it's doing what it should be doing. We give it 5 minutes and make sure there's no air locks or anything, and then as I said before, we check the oil again and top it up accordingly. That's the actual service of the engine done and the mechanical side of it. And then the belts, which I've done hundreds of times, they don't take me too long, but I'll show you what we do with them and how I get them off. But at the moment, looking good. Okie dokie, so that's been running for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So I can see that has now dropped from where it was. Not mass amounts, not huge, nothing that would make me go, oh my god, it's leaking out everywhere. But what we do is we just do a few more glugs on that. We'll have another go at that. So in the morning I'll dip it again, and if I need to put a little bit more in, I'll put a little bit more in. No, I'm going to do exactly the same again, same quantity, and that should take it almost all the way up. Oil in that will go in its own little box down there later on, and I'll get rid of that at the next chance I get, really. Let's have a look at this. Perfect, absolutely perfect. I needed that kitchen roll, I just threw away. And one more try. It is about 5 mil off the max line, so that for me is bang on. I'm happy with that. Lid can go back on. I'll spend 10 minutes tidying up, and then you can come back and join me and we do the belts. Right, as you can see, there's not a huge amount of room to video because I'm holding the camera at the moment and I can't do what I need to do. But basically, this main belt's got to come off and this little belt's got to come off. This alternator charges the starter battery, which is over that way. This much bigger alternator charges our leisure batteries, which are over somewhere. I can show you. All in there. There are lithiums in there. And lots of complicated wires, which I don't know what most of them do. But the main bit is now is to get these two off. It's not difficult. You've got a big one comes off first, so you've got that bolt. Ooh, that bolt. There's a locking bolt back down there behind the alternator. Undo that all the way, take that belt off, undo that bolt for this little alternator, pull that back, take that belt off, and then it is literally the reverse on the way out. But we get them off and we'll see what condition they're in. Not sure if you can remember when I showed you a minute ago, the old belt, this one here was right the way down there, so it shows you how much it's stretched, and it is now the obligatory half a turn, and it's halfway down there. So the other belt was stretched, what's that, 1.5 to 2 inches, something like that. So definitely needed changing. Time for a new one. There we go, both belts on. If you remember, this one was also kind of quite up here, so that had stretched as well. So nice new belts. We'll just give the engine a run and make sure everything's okay with them, but success. I always find that when you put new belts on, if you run it for 10 minutes, they do stretch a little bit, and then you just give them another little tweak, tighten them up a bit. So there we go, belt's running lovely, all good. What I tend to do is keep all the old boxes and put the old stuff in there. I find a marina that will accept the oil. You can't just put the oil in the waste bins as you go around the network. It has to be, it's oil, it has to be disposed of properly. So I ask them, can I get rid of the air filter and the fuel filter and the oil filter with them at the same time? They normally charge you. I don't mind paying a few quid for that. Last time I think I did the main one beginning of the year. I think I paid 12 quid and I dumped all the oil and filters and everything with the marina, and it all went in their service bay, and they obviously have to pay for it to be collected. So okay, so that is it. That is engine service completed. It's the oil and all of filters changed, fuel filters changed, air filters changed, and gearbox oil done. Everything's running lovely. Oh, belts, I did the belts, both the belts done. So that'll be that probably for another 6 months. Towards the end of summer, spring, I'll do another small service where I'll just probably do the oil and filters, and then again this kind of time, beginning of January, February, I'll do a full service on it. But for now, that's it. If you've got any comments or any questions, feel free to chuck them down below and I'll do my best to answer them, but I'm no mechanic or engineer or anything. But if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit the like button and give it a subscribe, completely free. And thank you very much for watching. But for me, it's goodbye.